first of all, this is your first time in the Post House. Is it first time in Stafford?
No, Stafford 10, 15 years ago I came to Stafford. I think I came to the Gatehouse, is it? Gatehouse Theatre?
The Gatehouse, yeah.
The Gatehouse Theatre,
Yeah. So this is obviously a lot smaller than the Gatehouse.
A lot more intimate.
Yeah. And what do you prefer, the big venues or
It's nice.
smaller?
I like what I do because it's versatile. We can be working sometimes to 600 and 700 people down at the Princess Pavilion in Torquay, and the next minute we can be working to 100 people in an intimate venue like this. So really, it's absolutely, across the board, and that's how I like it.
Yeah. And how did you get started in clairvoyancy?
I was 9. I had gone to bed early hours of the morning. My granddad came to visit me. He literally came to visit me from the spirit world. I didn't know he'd died. We'd been playing with him over in Hemsworth, playing football on the lawn, and I'd gone to bed. 4 o'clock in the morning, I was woken up, and he was there, and he tapped me. He said, "I've gone. Go and tell your mum." And I went, "Where have you gone?" He said, "I've gone." And my granddad from Yorkshire called a spade a shovel, told it as it was, and if he said, "I'll tell you once," you knew if he told you twice, you ran. And he said, "I've gone." I went, "Right, all right." So I went into my mum's bedroom, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I woke her up and I went, "My granddad's gone." She went, "Where?" She said, "You're dreaming." I said, "He's in my bedroom." She went, "Where's he gone?" I said, "I don't know. Follow me." So she followed me through to the bedroom, and my granddad was nowhere to be seen. And obviously I went back to bed. And then the next day, my sister Joanne came into my bedroom and she was in tears. My granddad had passed away at 5 to 4. So it took him 5 minutes in theory. But the funny thing is, my mum said to me the next day, "Promise me, love, you'll never tell anybody what happened last night." And I said, "Mum, I promise I never will." And now I tell thousands of people. I think she did say to me, now I speak to her about it, makes her laugh because she runs my box office for me and she's 73, and she said it was an experience my Auntie Pauline had once had with a medium. I really don't quite know what that experience was, but she'd had a funny do with a medium, and I think it scared my mum, so the thought of me hearing dead people, especially my granddad, bizarre.
So what happened next then?
Nothing. It stayed dormant until I was 16. 16 years old, I was shopping in a supermarket and I just leaned over to get a pizza out of the freezer, and I touched a lady's hand in the freezer. And it was the physical touch, and it stimulated the voice. "Tell her it's a son, it's Michael. I only died in September. Wish Chloe happy birthday for next week." It's a bit much when you've gone shopping for a pizza at 16. Not what I expected.
So do you need that physical contact before you can make?
Not at all.
So it's been a thing that's slowly developed over time?
Yeah, it has, and you never stop learning, ever. It's a continual learning process. Every night you're faced with something that's different. Nothing's ever the same. My friend Jane McDonald, the singer, she's Loose Women, people know from Loose Women. Jane was at the Opera House in Wakefield. She was doing a charity do, and she phoned me and she went, "Steve," she went, "I'm so nervous." She says, "I've been in this afternoon," she said, "for a couple of hours rehearsing." And I went, "Well, think yourself lucky, love. I can't rehearse." They phoned me up at some of the theatres and the halls up and down the country, say, "Steve, when are you coming in to do your rehearsal?" And I'm like, hang on a minute, who would have talked to them? There'd be nobody there.
I've read up a little bit about you, and,
Yeah.
And it says that, like a lot of other mediums, you have a spirit guide.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a bit more about him?
Archie May, yeah, bless him. He went out to fight for his country and ended up with a deformed hand, and later in the evening you'll see as I start, not now, but as I start to, the clairvoyance kicks in, my hand will contort into it because he had a deformed hand and an injury, and my hand takes them on the movement of his hand. Quite amazing. I had no idea who my guide was at all, and I didn't really feel it necessary to find out. I was just grateful that he was helping me in the capacity he's been helping me with. But we decided to trace him, and we did trace him, and we found him, and we have his records.
And he had an interesting link to you in what you did previously.
Yeah, hairdressing. Yeah, I was a hairdresser for 17 years in Leeds City Centre. Quite ironic, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, so do you think that spirit guides would perhaps choose people with similar interests or backgrounds, or
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that's always the case. In my case, is it coincidence? I really don't know. But I think there was obviously some affinity, some bond that he, that obviously he realised. I think there's more to it than we actually realise. I do, yeah. But I don't necessarily. I have several guides working with me throughout the evening, and each one is independently working for the messages. Some people have lost their loved ones in natural circumstances. Last night a lady came through at Burton-on-Trent. She passed over last week. It was his mum. She was 100 years old. She came back and named the whole family, where he lived, the house number, everything. Amazing message for him. 100 years old. Natural form of progression. She's eventually obviously going to pass to the spirit world at that age, we know. A lady last night lost her son 19 years ago. It was his anniversary last night. He was 19 years old. A lady last night lost her daughter 3 months ago, 31 years old, in tragic circumstances. A guy at the back lost his brother who committed suicide. All very different. My guides, Archie May is the doorkeeper. My guides all interact with these messages and feed through a system, and they will work with Archie and me to help that person get that message accurately, clearly. And my guide that works with me will have an affinity with the person that's passed away. I have a guy, Warren. He took his own life in a police cell. Black gentleman, lovely guy. He helps me with all the suicides. I have Christopher, a little boy who burned to death, sadly, and he helps me with any of the traumatic cases with kids that come through. So Archie May is like head office. He is he monitors the situation of who will be allowed through, but then the guide will come in again under Archie May and work with me to liaise to get the best message for the person.
So talk me through what happens when you're stood up there in front of a room full of people, or as
chatting away as I am to you. Absolutely. Doing the introduction, which is boring because I do it 26 nights a month, 9 months a year for 30 years. You tell me, anybody that says the same thing, boring. I get that out of the way. As soon as that's out of the way, sometimes before I don't get a chance, somebody will push in, I'm off. Archie's it, we're in. And that's it. And that's the best part of it, because next thing I know he's calling me to time. I'm away with the fairies. They use me as a telephone. They do their job.
So how do they identify who they want to speak to?
Can be in many, many different forms. Last night it was... I had a gentleman called Pat in the spirit world. It was somebody's husband who wanted to speak to his wife Jean over in the corner. She put her hand up at Eugene. I said, the 17th. She went, it's my birthday. I said, he knows. She said, he never did when he were living. Usual. And it can be a date, 27th of October. It can be Derek. It can be anything.
Have you ever had people come along to these shows? They've perhaps been dragged along by the girlfriends, wives, partners, who are complete disbelievers.
25% of the audience. The guy last night, and Joe's here, and she will agree with me. She heard him. He said he went, I lost my daughter 3 months ago. I did not believe anything. I was not skeptic. I was pathetically skeptic. He said, but what you've told me tonight from my daughter, nobody could ever know the information, the song we played at the funeral, the date, the name, everything. He said, I am a believer. And he said, you've changed my life, mate. And that makes it worthwhile.
So do you have a kind of off and on switch for the spirit voices?
Too right, I do. Absolutely. When I've finished, I've finished. I'm not a medium 24/7. I'm a medium 26 nights a month, 9 months a year in here, and I'm dedicated to the cause, and I love it. The enthusiasm's there. The adrenaline rush is there. The emotion every night, the electricity, the hilarity, the sadness. It's a real roller coaster emotion that we take everybody on that journey.
I spoke to Derek Okora recently, and he was talking about a limited amount of psychic energy that he has in kind of a store, and so he can't use it before the act.
Oh yes, I can understand that. I don't think of it like that. I'm not as rigid, but I do understand what he says. Yeah, absolutely. Because I always say my evenings are condensed into 3 hour slot, and in that 3 hour I can give everything. But after that, it would be ridiculous to think it could go on for another 2 hours because the energy would drop and the messages would become vague and inconsistent. I pride myself on, bang, 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 evidence, evidence, evidence. I want to see people's faces light up, tears of emotion, tears of elation and happiness. That's what it's all about.
And is there any sort of code of conduct between clairvoyants? Is there anything that you wouldn't say to somebody? Is there any message you wouldn't give?
That's the hard part. They come through and they just fire away. It would be so easy for me just to repeat everything they said. There's certain things and certain words that I wouldn't use.
So how does clairvoyancy and mediumship and all these other ways of talking to people who have passed, how do they relate to religion?
Orthodox religion, spiritualism, which I'm a spiritualist medium. Spiritualism is a recognised religion within the law of the land, and we sit comfortably. We do weddings, we do funerals, we do naming service, christenings. So we are a recognised religion. Orthodox religion dictate. 99.9% of Orthodox religion dictate that we survive bodily death and we go to heaven, and that we will meet our loved ones again in eternal life, reunited together eternally as one. We've all heard that. Every funeral we've ever been to, we hear the vicar or the preacher tell us that. The thing is, I ask my audience every night, have you all heard those words at a funeral, ladies and gentlemen? They all go, yes. So would you kindly put your hand up, ladies and gentlemen, the people that have actually had proof that that's true from a funeral? No hands. I say, ladies and gentlemen, do you not find that rather odd? That we're all taught from being knee-high to a grasshopper that we survive death and we go to heaven. You lose your son on his 16th birthday, knocked off his motorbike and killed. You go to the funeral on the Wednesday afternoon, 10 days later, and you give him a wonderful send-off. You tell the vicar what you want him to say, and he reads those words, and we have a few people getting up and tributes, and what a day you give him. And you are elated, devastated but elated that you've done that funeral, that given him that send-off, and you leave at 3:05. With what? Blind faith. Sorry mate, but that's what it's about. And that's what I don't get my head around. So I aim to give proof that we survive death, and we back up what Orthodox religion project and say and have done throughout time. This is a difference. Spiritualism, it's the proof of the survival of the spirit after death, and that's what it's about.
So you believe in that rather than there being a particular God or supreme being, as it were?
Everybody will have their own take on God and religion and whatever. That is my personal view.
Right. And when the spirits come to you, is it audio only, or do you actually physically see them?
I actually see dogs.
Dogs?
I used to go to school on the bus, and I used to sit behind the driver, and there's like a clear perspex thing, and a white black cloth behind it. The cloth acts as a reflection, and you've probably sat on a bus and seen it. I used to get on One Cherry Tree Road where I lived. I used to be first on the bus, and I used to sit behind the driver. Eventually I started looking in the mirror and seeing pets, dogs, not anything else actually, not cats or gerbils, just dogs. And they'd come to me, and I'd be like, God, that's a Yorkshire. I can see a red setter, I can see a bull. And I'm like, on the bus, I'm like, nobody else can see it. Why? I had no idea. Went on for months, even years. And eventually I realised that it was only when I started doing demonstrations. I won't say to anybody, I've got a dog here, because we've all got a dog. We all, pretty glib comment to make. I will say, I've got a border collie, or a Jack Russell, or a Cocker Spaniel, because I see them. So I actually see the dogs, hear the people. That's because they don't talk. I hear the people, see the dogs. And I do see spirit form 7-10%. The rest, 90 odd other percent, is down to literally hearing the clairvoyance.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for your time.
That's a pleasure.
Good luck tonight.
Thank you.